Welcome back to Trends and Friends. The folks from Texas Tech Public Media want you to check out a new documentary film telling the story of everyone's favorite neighbor. Here to tell us about the movie and how you can go see it is Paul Hunton. Paul, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So Heidi asked me before the show, who's everyone's favorite neighbor? I was like, Mr. Rodgers.
Mr. Rodgers, of course.
So it is a documentary film.
Sure, yeah. So it's a documentary that talks about the life and times of Fred Rodgers, who was the host of the cinema program on. We show it on Texas Tech Public Media, and everyone's favorite neighbor. I mean, he sort of embodies what we do at Public Media, as far as educational content that kids can watch, and that's, you know, his philosophy was to create content that wasn't like anything else you'd see on TV. He was watching television whenever he was in college and saw that everything involved violence or just nonsense, and so he wanted to make a children's program that sort of went beyond the noise and spoke directly to the hearts of children. And so the film documents that mission of his and how he got there and became everyone's favorite everyone's favorite neighbor.
Yeah,
except Heidi's. Well,
poor Heidi. What a life. But I do think it's interesting. I've seen the video of him talking to congressmen in the late 60s, and they're very much like against the idea of public television. And by the end of the conversation, they're like, oh, I totally love this.
Yeah, and he had that power. He had that power to speak to people where they were and to speak to them in a way that was calm. And he just cut through so much stuff and spoke directly to the hearts of people, and that's what he did for children and really what he did for adults too. You know, we were back in the green room and all the guests were like, oh, you're here to talk about Mr. Rodgers, talking about memories of watching that show as a child, and that's sort of what he was all about. And so one thing that the documentary really touches on is that really his idea at the time, and even today when you watch children's media, was very radical, because you don't get that type of program anywhere.
Right, yeah, super cool. Now this is helping you guys out a little bit.
Yeah, so the film will be playing for probably a couple weeks, but this weekend at the Alamo Drafthouse, if you come down starting tomorrow night at 7:15, we'll be out there, and every dollar from every ticket you buy, and I think you can even have a choice, but at least every dollar you buy becomes a donation for Texas Tech Public Media. We'll also be there to take donations, to talk a little about Mr. Rodgers. We have this sweet shirt that people can get if they donate. So you're used to the mock tuxedo shirts. We did a mock Mr. Rodgers sweater shirt, and so if you make a donation to Texas Tech Public Media, you can get one of these sweet Mr. Rodgers t-shirts. But it's a great film. I've seen the film. Bring tissues. You will cry a lot. Yeah, it looks really good. If anyone is wanting more information about the film or you guys, where can they find that? Go to kttz.org or go to thealamodrafthouse.com/Lubbock for ticket information. Okay, thank you very much for coming. It's certainly going to be a lot of fun. And one more thing I do want to touch on. I think Mr. Rodgers' kids, is this a kid-friendly film? Or? You know, I would say not so much. You know, it dives into a lot of the subject matter he was dealing with which was very adult. And I think kids would enjoy it, but it's more about his life. There's nothing like, obviously, nothing vulgar or anything like that. It's Mr. Rodgers. Yeah, it's not going to be crazy. But the content itself skews to folks like us who watched it growing up. Exactly, but that's the thing is, Mr. Rodgers, he's for everyone. He's not just for kids. He absolutely is. Exactly. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for having me. Coming up, details on a shop